most of the folks around the SEC and really nationwide that cover college football think Oklahoma is mid. And I'm going to tell you why, Sooner Nation, you should love every second of it. Well, for all that glowing talk about how great Brent Venables and the three players accompanying him to Oklahoma's first ever SEC Media Days came off on Tuesday, the truth about how those folks in the SEC Old Boys Club, or well, the media club anyway, really felt about Oklahoma was out on Friday. They think OU's mid. They see Oklahoma's Red River rival Texas as elite, but Oklahoma, one of just two teams to beat those Longhorns in 2023, well, they're just another second-tier SEC program that will find life much harder in the Southeastern Conference. You know, because everything the Sooners have accomplished in dominating the last conference they played in, winning 14 out of 27 championships, going to 4 playoffs, that all happened from the Big 12. And the Big 12 sucks. That's the narrative anyway. At least as long as you're talking Oklahoma. You know. But the Sooners were picked to finish right in the middle of the pack during their first trek around the SEC in 2024. 8th overall in the SEC media poll. While Red River rival Texas was voted as the second best team in the all-new Southeastern Conference. And if you're looking for some preseason all-SEC love for your Oklahoma Sooners, don't look long. They didn't get much. They got just about enough to maybe justify that 8th place finish that these media folks expect those Sooners to have. It is what it is. It's a brutal every week conference, and Oklahoma's just not quite ready for it if you listen to the folks that were in attendance at the Omni in Dallas this past week for 4 days. What in the just happened? You know what just happened? I can tell you precisely what just happened. Oklahoma just got a big ass gift from those beat reporters, talking heads, and media members covering college football from around the country. Then they got another gift from former players, fans of a program not in the SEC and that probably won't play Oklahoma anytime soon because really they're headed in the opposite direction of what we see Oklahoma headed in right now. These are all gifts, though, Sooner Nation. Believe it or not, these are all gifts. It is the absolute best possible scenario for the Sooners as they embark on their inaugural season in the nation's best conference. And I'll tell you something else. Venables and Oklahoma, Team 130, and every one of us whose wardrobe is dominated with the colors crimson and cream should be loving every damn minute of it. You know why? Because the Sooners are absolutely better than anyone outside the OU circle believes they are. Number 2, they have considerably better talent than that preseason All-SEC team would indicate. Number 3, they possess an experienced, talent-laden defense, unlike anything we've seen in Norman for at least a decade. And let's not forget a few other things as our eyes roll at the idea of Missouri, Tennessee, Ole Miss, and Texas being ranked ahead of Oklahoma in that preseason poll. Nor while we're reading through the first, second, and third team offensive and defensive player lists and finding just 3 Sooners listed. Billy Bowman, Danny Stutzman, and of course, new guy, Dion Burks, who came in on the 3rd team. Let's face it, we know that Oklahoma is better than second-ranked Texas. Okay? And with even talking heads and fans and players like Matt Leinart spouting off about how much better Lincoln Riley's new football program is than his former football program, the Trojans are actually staring down the barrel of a second straight 7-5 season, even with Lincoln, the quarterback whisperer, at the helm. And if they do stumble through their first year in the Big Ten, it looks like those Trojans are likely going to continue to struggle mightily on the recruiting trail on both sides of the ball, which means all that bravado, all that crap that you're hearing out of the guys at Voice of College Football and old Matty Leinart and even our boy USCJ, all that bravado will simply vindicate Sooner fans even more because, you know, we've been saying and that we've watched this Lincoln Riley movie before. Guess what all of it means? It means that when Oklahoma is in contention for the playoffs this season, final 2 weeks of the year, they have beaten 3, 4, 5 of those mighty SEC teams everyone believes is better. They'll have themselves battle hardened and they'll be brimming with confidence. They get ready to compete with and maybe even beat a talented Alabama team at home, then likely contender LSU in Death Valley in the final week of the season, and have a chance to punch a ticket to Atlanta for the SEC championship game, and at the very least, a spot in the college football playoff. That's going to require probably no worse than fourth place. Obviously, you have to finish top 2 to get into the SEC championship game. But I'll tell you this. We all know that there are heaping amounts of bullshit going around the fan bases of the almighty SEC and the newsrooms where college football's national media reside too. There just is. But be happy about it, Sooner Nation. Be ecstatic with it, I say. Put a heart next to every slanderous tweet that you see about OU facing a superior group of football programs throughout this first season. And thank each and every content creator that you find on YouTube that made a video telling you why your Sooners are destined to be mid till the end of time now that they're not facing Kansas, Kansas State, Okie Light, and Baylor in consecutive weeks rather than Ole Miss, South Carolina, Mississippi State, and Tennessee. All of this stuff truly has done Brent Venables and his team a big favor. When they left all these guys off of the preseason all SEC teams and not have Kendall Dobie or Gavin Sawchuk or Dominic Williams or Ethan Downs or Dasan McCullough or Nick Anderson on any one of those teams, any one of those lists, first, second, or third team, it's absolutely disrespectful, slanderous even. Thank them for every bit of it. Because they did Oklahoma and this fan base a huge, huge favor. If you don't think you had a pissed off group of Sooners headed into this league, think again. Because something tells me the list that matters that comes out at the end of the season might be a bit more full of Sooners and a bit less full of Texas players, which right now, I think the number's at 13 on the preseason list. Don't ask me to make that make sense because I can't. The only thing that I could tell you is they did you a favor. They did Brent Venables a favor, and they did every one of those kids inside the Switzer Center that are ready to go into this conference, told you how excited they were to be there and that they couldn't wait for the challenge that is going to be the SEC. They were respectful. They didn't bow down to anybody, but they were respectful. The SEC has chosen over and over and over again to not reciprocate that respect. It's a gift, and we should be excited about it. 8th out of 16, while Texas is ranked 2nd out of 16 in their first season. Texas, who lost 11 guys to the NFL draft, including their 5 most productive pass catchers from a year ago, their 2 best defensive linemen, their best linebacker, their number 1 running back. Texas lost all of that. They're still expected to finish 2nd, partly because they'll tell you this schedule. Well, the good news is Oklahoma plays, what, I guess 5, 6 of the teams that are ranked ahead of them in that preseason media poll. So there's an opportunity for Oklahoma to prove how ridiculous these pundits are. I'm going to tell you that I believe that most of the teams themselves, the players, the coaches, the way that they've spoken, they expect Oklahoma is going to be fine. They're going to compete. At least most of them. But it's hard to find an SEC media member or podcaster or whatever that wants to give them any credit whatsoever. Most of them believe about like what we've seen from Barrett Sallee, that they're just going to come in and play second fiddle to Missouri. Again, it's the best possible scenario for these guys. It really is. They have an opportunity to go in and play them all. They've got games against LSU on the road, Missouri on the road. They host Tennessee in their first ever SEC game. They go to Ole Miss. They host Alabama. And they'll even get to play Texas in the Red River rivalry as always. So out of the 7 teams ranked ahead of the Sooners, Oklahoma plays 6. They're going to get a chance to prove that. They're going to get a chance to show what they're about. And in view of the fact that everybody seems to be telling them that they're not very good, they're probably going to come in with an even bigger chip on their shoulder. And again, this is why we should be thanking every one of those pompous dumbasses for their vote or lack thereof. And everybody's been keeping receipts. You know you have, you know I have. Good things are about to happen. Because I'll tell you this, I believe and you believe, and we know what this Oklahoma team has. We do. We know what they have. There's a bunch of talent that was not going to be here as long as Lincoln Riley was. A bunch of it. All over that defense. The fact that Danny Stutzman, Billy Bowman came back, along with Ethan Downs, along with Woody Washington, gave this team leadership that should push it over the edge. This team actually has more returning production on the defensive side of the ball than any other team in the conference. That narrative about Oklahoma being a big question mark on the offensive line, probably a little overblown, as we said. They've got more starts on the offensive line than anybody in the conference as well. These, of course, are coming from transfers, but a number of these guys, you got one that was a freshman All-American coming from North Texas, Fabichi Wiwu. You've got starts in the Big Ten. You've got starts in the Pac-12. You've got starts in the SEC. And you have starts from guys that were already in Oklahoma as well. They have more starts along the offensive line than Alabama, Georgia, Texas, even Ohio State. Ranked well ahead of Oklahoma. There's a reason why these guys came in and said they are up to this challenge and ready for this challenge. They are. They believe in themselves. There's a reason why Stutzman and Bowman came back when they both had good grades, good enough grades to go into the draft. They want to take a shot at it, and they want to see if they can make a run at a championship. So, buckle up and get ready for the SEC. These Sooners are ready, and they have proper motivation to go out there and prove a bunch of people wrong. I can't think of a better way to enter the SEC. It's a big old gift. Let me know what you think about it. We'll see you on the next one.